everyone. I'm Charlie, and welcome back to another DraftKings UCL semifinal slate breakdown. Back on the second leg of this PSG Dortmund uh match. I think it's what 1-0 Dortmund on aggregate. I'm 95% sure that's right. And now we got PSG with the home leg. Interesting, they're minus 250. That's pretty large, especially for a Champions League semifinal. Both teams to score is slightly on yes. And it's a pretty high goal total, not the craziest, but definitely more than average. In terms of projected lineups, interesting that we see Beraldo in now because of that unfortunate crucial ligament injury to Lucas Hernandez, but he'll slide in and they're kind of like for like. Barcola, they continue have starting on the wing. He's a scary play though, just because they have so many wingers who all rotate in at different points. When it's usually Mbappe and Dembele going the most minutes. For set pieces, they continue to run this lineup. It should be Dembele everything, maybe a little bit of Vitinha. If we see Lee Kang in or Marco Asensio in, they might split. And then for Dortmund, Brandt almost everything. Brandt or Sancho, I mean, will sometimes take a small share, but mostly Brandt. Now, in terms of prices and the slate itself, two big names are Mbappe and Dembele. For cash, we're going them both, then we're chunking that salary. For GPP, definitely can maybe get off of Mbappe for that much. It's hard to get off of Dembele just because his floor is so high. It's hard to see a world where he's non-optimal just because he's got such a high floor. And even like either PSG score and he likely contributes to that, or they're losing and he usually is going to take a ton of crosses and set pieces because he's their taker. And either way, he has really a lot of avenues to get there. Mbappe, on the other hand, a little bit more goal dependent. Like an 8 is not going to cut it for 13K almost. However, he's so likely to score that it's hard to kind of get off of him. And so why we're playing him so much or playing him for sure in cash. And likely probably playing a large share in GPP too. Ramos isn't going to play. Lee King in. I hope he isn't in. If he is, man, he's just a weird player to pick just because he gets subbed a lot. It doesn't have a ton of upside. This last slate I had with these two teams, I spoke at length about how I was not playing him. And I was happy that he wasn't in. I hope for the same for this one too. Daniel Malin, non-projected, interestingly enough. I'd be a little surprised if they don't go with him. Scored a goal in their win against Augsburg. He's always had a little bit of a floor to him, honestly. Has a shot floor, has a key pass floor. For 9,200 though, it's just difficult to get there in cash at least when you're already going Mbappe and Dembele. Now, if you're going to use him as an alternative to Mbappe, could maybe get behind that. Now, Brandt. He was a big decision last time. I think it's a little bit easier to get off of him this time. With PSG at home and they're down on aggregate, like they should really dominate the ball. And if you're paying those two 12K attackers, it's hard to warrant throwing another 8,600 down on Brandt, especially if you captain one of them. Fulkrug 8,400, good GPP play. If it's going to be high scoring, he's usually the one who's getting the goals. So that's interesting in terms of that lens. Marco Reus, I don't think will play. Vitinha, 7,800. That's a little much for me. If he was like 6K, I think that'd be slightly more fair. 7,800. I think he'll be super low owned in GPP, which could warrant a sprinkle there. But for cash, it's a no-go for me. Your cash player pool is super limited because of these prices. Like if you go these two guys, Mbappe and Dembele, makes it a lot harder to fit anyone above the 7K range. Barcola. I like him more than Vitinha. More upside. You have his minutes to worry about, but you're playing him for getting a goal contribution. You just have to hope he gets one. in that time. Donnarumma. I think he'll be decently owned. He's got good logs. He makes a ton of saves. And PSG should win this on paper, so he should have an extra five coming his way. If he has a clean sheet, suddenly you're rocking. If he gets a ton of saves, he's gonna have like 25 points. I think he's an interesting GPP captain even because he affords you a little bit more salary than an Mbappe or a Dembele, and he can definitely compete with them in terms of numbers if he gets the right game flow, which is like PSG get one or two goals early and Dortmund have to push the whole game. Sancho, 6,400. I don't think he ended up taking anything in that PSG game. Still had eight floor. 6,400 is a fair price. I think that's an in play in cash, pretty good GPP play too. Hakimi. Now this guy, it's 6K. That is an absolute bargain. He's probably in my core. Just dropped solid floor and a great matchup for game script right now. He should get super high up the pitch. Hit the post, I remember in that first leg too. Like he could have easily scored. I don't know how he's been priced down after having such a nice game last game. That's a lock for me. He's probably the arguably best play on the whole slate at that price, considering everyone else around him is so much more expensive. Sabitzer, this is a guy who always gets there too. Never my kind of play. Maybe have a small share in GPP for cash. No, thank you. Fabian Ruiz and Nuno Mendes, both these guys I think are all right for what they are. Not crazy ceiling by any means, but typically pretty high floor. And that's kind of good enough there for that price range. Same with Zaire Emery. Like all three of those guys I'm kind of fine with. Coble and Ryerson too is not bad either. He's questionable, but had a really good game last game. 4,400, nice price. It's just scary a little bit picking these Dortmund guys, considering PSG should dominate the game on paper. Coble, I think this is a guy who's going to be super popular in cash for 4,200. He's a goalkeeper who makes a ton of saves and he's got good flow to go in that direction now. PSG should be taking a lot of shots. That should do him a lot of favors. He'll either drop three goals or like give up three goals, which I don't see happening. And even if it does, I think that he'll still have a bunch of saves, considering how Dortmund play, considering how PSG play. Like Kobel's a great play here for 4,200. He's probably the best value on the slate. Geraldo, 4K. If he somehow starts at left back, it's a pretty good play. At center back, he had a lot of points actually. I was not aware of that, but he's not bad. Hope he gets on the end of a Dembele set piece. Hummels. That's a good GPP play to me. He's always had a tiny bit of a floor to him. He's always a bit of a set piece threat. You can pair him with like a Brandt or a Sancho. Could be a good start to a build. Oh, didn't silence my phone. Marquinhos. I think he's the cheapest PSG starter. I'll probably throw him in. He might even end up in my cash build depending on how I go. Is Sulen projected? No, Schlotterbeck. Did I miss him? Not. Oh, that is cheap. Flat 3K Schlotterbeck. He had the assist in that game. Made it a really weird optimal GPP. That's a super solid play for that cheap. In terms of a core, I'm going Mbappe, Dembele, and Hakimi. That was actually my core for the first leg. And I think it's even in a better position now because of the aggregate scoreline. Now PSG need to win at home. I think the big decision after this is it comes to who you captain. If you go for a Mbappe or a Dembele, makes things really, really tough here. Like if you do that for cash construction, only 4,300 left per player, it's doable, but it's definitely scary. Or the alternative is you can go Hakimi captain. Then you get a little bit more salary and slight more freedom. I think those are the kind of the two ways you start your cash build though. With these three, it's just what you go a captain and what you go because of that. For GPP, a little bit all out the window. You can get rid of Mbappe. Suddenly you can go like a bunch of Dortmund guys. and have a decent build that way. Tons of ways to go, but I'm structuring it mostly around Hakimi, Mbappe, and Dembele. Like, I think Hakimi will probably be my most owned guy, followed by Dembele. Might be slightly off of Mbappe a little bit in GPP because of that price and a little bit of goal reliance, but there's some interesting alternatives for sure. Right, guys, that's it. Good luck and hope we get actually DraftKings posting prices at a normal time instead of having to wait to upload a video for whenever just because their prices come out so late. That's my extra rant over, but good luck, bye, guys. Peace.